If the same mad scientist that had abducted you and sewed your mouth to another person's had the state abduct you again, then sewed your mouth to another person's again, and then sewed someone else's mouth to your again, why does God hate you so much? In this video, we'll follow the evil surgeon turned prison warden, see if we can make better decisions, and ultimately attempt to save the state some scratch by pacifying our prisoners using experimental procedures in Human Centipede 3. Wait, I think I'm on the wrong team. Everyone in this movie deserves holy fire to rain down on them. Now, I wouldn't have dove into this dumpster of sheer depravity had the first Human Centipede movie I covered not been so popular with you sick This is your fault. Just want to let you know, you did this. Now, for the astute Human Centipede fans, you may have noticed I skipped Human Centipede number 2. I did watch it many moons ago during my formative years, and still, to this day, I cringe at the vivid, grotesque memories I have of it. Decades of eye bleach cannot unsee that filth. So for everyone's mental health, we'll be skipping that one. Which brings us to number 3, which, from what I've been told by trusted sources, is milder. Yeah, from what I understand, this is like if Harold and Kumar didn't escape from Guantanamo Bay, and those meat sandwiches were just an appetizer. Alright, let's take this evil f***er down for good. Well, he is dead in real life, so I guess we don't have to worry about a 4th Human Centipede where he becomes a dictator in Germany or something. Speaking of wannabes, the rotund pervert, Dwight Butler. Yes, I actually bothered to state this guy's name, unlike an all-too-loving mother in my other video. Deal with it. Anyway, the guy who created the Human Centipede 2 fan film, who's now an accountant at a state prison, is showing off his creation to none other than the evil surgeon from Human Centipede 1, alias Bill Boss, who's now the warden of said state prison. Not just any state prison, the George H.W. Bush State Prison. He's not a fan, saying it's complete Oh. No. I literally can't describe what happens next with his secretary at all. This isn't good. I was told this was milder. It is not. We started this, we're damn well gonna finish it. Dwight, the accountant, tells Big Boss they have a serious problem. Their George H.W. Bush State Prison, or as folks call it, W, has the highest rates of personnel turnover, violence rates, legal and medical costs than any other institution in the U.S. correctional system. Gee, I wonder why. If they don't tame the prisoners, they'll be subjected to a paid internal investigation. Not to worry, he has just the solution. It's to make all the prisoners into a human centipede. Congratulations, you just went to the back of the line. Look, I know it's gotta be rough being kept in a 4x4 box for 25, and you're holding a lot of anger and resentment inside. But that's no reason to lash out at the people who can make your life significantly worse. Same sage advice as, don't bully the loner kid with a troubled home life at school. Don't bully the clearly deranged warden of the remote prison you're locked in. Coming from someone who's never been to prison, you had three options. 1, lie low, make friends with Cheeseburger Eddie, and get jacked doing thousands of push-ups every day so that when you get out, you can at least look good without a shirt on. Number 2, do number 1, but also write lyrics for your budding post-prison rap career. 3, threaten to violently spoon with the guy holding the keys to your cell and become the human caboose of a meat train. Unfortunately, I suspect none of our choices will matter here as a prisoner. Even if you chose the holy path of Gucci Mane by virtue of smoking pot in the wrong state, your lips were fated to be sewn to another man's sphincter. While you might not make it into heaven for good behavior, you can sure as be sent to hell for shanking a guard. Bill Boss, totally level-headed, state-appointed warden, has a breakdown after being threatened with for the 14th time today, and throws down 6 desk pops like Johnny in Point Break. If nobody's going to give him the respect he deserves, he's going to have to take it. Which I totally get. You can only push a man so far before he's forced to get out the hand needle. Just before he can take a swig of liquor to take the morning edge off, a prisoner uses his allotted call to threaten the warden with for the 15th time today. Gotta be honest, it's getting hard to feel sorry for these criminals. The bad news just keeps rolling in. His doctor tells him he's way too stressed, and if he doesn't calm the down as soon as possible, his heart is going to seize up. Not exactly helping here, Doc. Besides, what do you think the booze is for? Seriously, more doctors need to understand the negative self-reinforcing psychophysiological responses to their diagnosis. Else, they earn a spot in the middle of the Hershey Highway. Afterwards, Bill arrives to the W's torture room, where the prank caller is strapped down. I think Bill saw that Joe Rogan episode where Tim Kennedy said waterboarding's not torture. That's why he's using boiling water instead. I think we blew off a little steam there, right? I think we're all feeling a little bit better after serving some justice. Great, time to go meet with the governor to talk shop.
I'll return in 2 weeks. I want changes.
Okay, good talk. While Bill Boss is busy obnoxiously yelling every line in this movie, which I've conveniently removed for your viewing pleasure, let us discuss rational solutions to this dilemma. First, we gotta talk about the secretary. She's doing a truly fantastic job handling every assault and debauched assignment she's been given, from using the restorative properties of her body to make sure the office is well satisfied, to promptly delivering dried human reproductive organs for a much needed early morning snack, to baiting the governor into a scandal for her boss's gain. A pro in her field, a rock in this stormy sea. Secondly, the accountant, a man from humble beginnings. Started as a parking garage's toll booth attendant and amateur filmmaker to the distinguished role of accountant at the George H.W. Bush State Prison. Dwight's eyes are on the sky, and his ears to the ground, delivering solutions to problems his boss didn't even know about. This is the man you want in your corner. The doctor fell in line swiftly, retracting his misdiagnosis of Bill Boss's poor heart condition. The guards replaced lukewarm water with scalding hot, boiling water within mere minutes to aid in the successful torture of an unruly prisoner. Nobody working at this prison has spread a word about any potential mistreatments of prisoners to anyone on the outside, or even raised a hand in hesitation. This is a well-oiled machine, if I've ever seen one. The real problem here is the prisoners. The simple solution here is just to keep everyone in their cells and not let them out under any circumstances. What you're gonna see is legal costs for shanked guards' workmen's compensation lawsuits go down, violence rates down, medical costs, if properly diagnosed by the resident doc, wink wink, down. Bill Boss has another idea, and the winner who gets to spearhead this initiative is the idiot who threatened to the warden. Surprise, surprise. Do you think this impending consequence will be cause for a retraction of said insult?
Hey, warden, why don't you come over here and suck my...
No. See, this is why I can't really empathize with the prisoners, even with foreknowledge of their inhumane treatment. You know, if you criminals could just act more civilized, you wouldn't be getting
Bring these little fuckers to the cook. I want a medium rare for lunch.
I gotta be honest, I don't really want to continue watching this, but I will, for you. After exacting his revenge, Bill Boss is riding high, feeling good, getting lots of important work done with his secretary, then has himself a nutrient-packed lunch before heading down to the medical wing to check in on his healing patients. Remember in my first video when I said that you never want to wake up in a hospital bed, but you never want to wake up in a hospital bed in someone's basement? Well, you never want to wake up in a hospital bed in a prison run by the dude who formerly had hospital beds in his basement. By now, each prisoner in here realizes this serious predicament that they're in, each exhibiting a newfound appreciation for life, understanding that the path for a brighter future is love, hope, and respect. #be kind. If they lie low, set aside time for self-reflection, work hard on their health, fitness, and lyrical prowess, they too will hopefully have a chance of being released on good behavior early enough in their lives to crudely slay Bill Boss in his own home, be sent right back in here. In all seriousness, this is the play, minus the crude slaying. thing. I'm not going to instruct you how to get away with, I don't even think I can say that sentence on YouTube. What I can say is, between 1980 and 2019, there were about 7,203 homicides in Nevada alone. According to Project Cold Cases Unsolved Murder Data page, around 4,852 of those killings have been solved, leaving over 2,351 murders unresolved in Nevada alone. That is 30% unsolved. Doesn't seem like good odds until you realize that 70% is full of the same dumbass who threatened to rip their warden to his face. What I'm trying to say is, read a fucking book or something first, and you too can join the 30%. Obviously, there's no guarantee with a warden as psychotic as Bill Boss, but it's your only real chance. Instead, they continue to verbally abuse the man who melted their face off, broke their arm, and cut their balls off. It ends about how you'd expect. The last in the row is the Nazi, awoken from his gentle slumber. Bill Boss eagerly waiting to see if he's become a submissive cat overnight.
I'm gonna dig up your parents and I'm gonna f them too.
As expected, the warden responds by choking him to death, having the doc resuscitate him, then almost choking him to death again. It's not even about the respect at this point, as it is a failure of his saving grace attempt at reducing prisoner violence in order to keep his job. Dwight, the man responsible for the Human Centipede 2 and the voice of reason, attempts to end this madness by beginning a conversation with the unlicensed physician about his Human Centipede 3 idea. It goes way smoother than you'd expect. The doctor is already a fan of both 1 and 2. With medical in his corner, he can finally take a swing at final approval from Big Boss himself. I mean, how hard can it be? The dude literally created the first human centipede. This is right up his alley. And come on, if Bill didn't want to hear about human centipedes, he really shouldn't have hired his biggest fan in the first place. What better time for Dwight to shoot his shot than when Bill Boss enters his office with an M16 in one hand and a 3/4 finished bottle of booze in the other.
We've got to make a human centipede of our prisoners.
Surprisingly, it goes way worse than his combo with the doctor, ending with Dwight being fired and Bill Boss shouting his lines into a garbage can where they belong. Bill eventually passes out from his own incessant yelling and has a bit of a nightmare. In it, Mr. Smooth Gooch shanks him, then rips his kidney. Literally. Turns out it was just his cigar burning a hole in him. He dusts himself off just in time for his meeting with Tom Six, critically acclaimed director of Human Centipede 2 and their resident doctor. According to them both, the Human Centipede idea is 100% medically possible, and he has the sketch to prove it.
You like it? It's very generous.
The doc goes on to say that they'd have to give anti-rejection medication, and that there's always the risk of infection, especially when sewing 500 people's mouths to 500 people's anus. Ain't I? Then leaving them to swelter in the midday desert heat. While ostensibly absurdly negligent, there's really no need to even consider any other details. Not because they aren't medically necessary, they are, but because frankly, these are irredeemable gang members that nobody gives a fuck about. He, the doctor, goes on to say the feces wouldn't be contaminated by outside bacteria, so it wouldn't be harmful. As for the non-existent nutritional value of said excrement, well, that can be remedied with essentially Gatorade injections. Not his words, but basically that's it. He doesn't see why someone couldn't survive a lifetime as a member of the Human Centipede, which doesn't sound right, but I don't know enough about biology to dispute it. However, the simple fact that the Unit 731 didn't conduct any Human Centipede experiments leads me to believe it's not actually possible. I do appreciate how absolutely zero thought was placed into whether or not this would be inhumane from a psychological perspective. That's refreshing. At last, Bill Boss signs off.
The ultimate correction.
You could say the final solution to the real prisoner dilemma, which is honest, hardworking men and women trying to run businesses, raise families while having chunks of their paychecks sent to feed and house deranged lunatics. It's not right. Something must be done, and that human experimentation needs to start now if we want to turn this country around. The voice of reason speaks again. Instead of permanently, surgically disfiguring loyal members of the meat train, which would ramp up the already high medical costs, they will only use injections to temporarily paralyze them, as well as leather restraints to keep them fixed in place. Once it's time for the prisoner to get their second chance at becoming a functional, productive member of society, they will simply cease their injections and undo their restraints. The now free prisoner will then walk out the gates with the only evidence of their stay being a slight scar around their mouth and the crushingly heavy baggage of their psychological torment. Once again, Bill Boss signs off, giving the doctor the budget for additional surgeons and time to carry out all the proper due diligence of blood and stool samples. However, despite Dwight's insistence on carrying out their plan without the foreknowledge of their clientele so the prisoners don't tear the place apart, Bill Boss wants to play both Human Centipede movies back to back during their monthly film night before announcing their fate.
The world's first human prison centipede.
Bold move, spitting that in the mic in front of 60 to 70 unshackled, hardened criminals. You have one M16 with a 30-round mag slung around an untrained geriatric, and like 2 guards within 4 feet of the prisoners. It's a pretty well-known fact that the average healthy adult male can cover 21 feet in 1.5 seconds, which is the time it takes an average officer to draw his sidearm and fire off 2 center mass shots. It would take literally nothing for them to overrun and curb stomp all of you into Campbell's Chunky. Personally, I'd wait until they were back in their cells, then drop the news over the intercom. Maybe I'm just a Yeah, so that's exactly what happened. Only through the magic of plot armor was Bill Boss able to flee the scene with those brittle little knees. Jesus, my late 99-year-old grandpa would whoop this guy's ass in a foot race. You're telling me a headhunting, enraged neo-Nazi who was recently by Bill wasn't able to Jason Statham his way to Bill before he made it to that last gate? Not to mention Dwight's Oompa Loompa penguin waddling ass. Get the out of here. I demand realism in this movie. Whatever. Bill and Dwight successfully flee while simultaneously failing to lock any of the abundant gates behind them. You know, the one thing that makes a prison a prison? The only door they lock is the piece of balsa wood that separates their office from their secretary's office. The prisoners make entry, shanking the poor sweet secretary who was only doing her job, and somehow failing to break through the quarter-inch plywood with a fire extinguisher in time to catch Bill before he jumped out the window. Luckily, the SWAT QRF team shows up within mere seconds of Dwight picking the phone up and screaming, "We need special forces," at the operator. Welp, there goes your one chance to save yourselves from the Human Centipede. You'd think this would be grounds for a warden getting fired, but you'd be wrong. Apparently, the governor didn't hear about this at all. Great state. The time has finally come. Bill Boss loads his sedation rifle and tranks the first patients. When the prissies wake up, the process begins. 3 prisoners at a time, which are then taken out into the courtyard to be stitched up to the other 3-person segments. Our favorite prisoner, Mr. Nutless, will be positioned behind Mr. Crohn's disease with the inflammatory bowel syndrome, yet again winning the stupid prize. It's only at the precipice of hell does he begin to beg for forgiveness. Too little too late, or as Bill puts it, your whining makes my translation pool noodle stand up. Should have put a little more force behind that fire extinguisher, huh? On to the next special snowflake, the man with a stoma. He can't be integrated for obvious reasons, so they send him back to his cell. Or not, guess we're just killing prisoners then. If this was an acceptable course of action without landing yourself in the same prison you were the warden of, why not just do this? Oh, right, there'd be no need for a warden anymore. But more importantly, how else would we derive meaning in life other than the subjugation and torture of our captives? The doc brings in a vegetable next. Despite being perfectly physically capable and docile to boot, Bill finds it annoying that he can't fully experience the sensation of gulping down shit as a retribution for his sins. So... Then, in a totally uncharacteristic act, Bill, for anyone watching, consensually snuggles with his comatose secretary. Cool. Now, I need to make a decision here. Should I eat lunch before or after this next part? I really just want to get through this so I can move on to nice family-friendly slashers. I think I'll eat after. So should you. Tom 6 arrives to see the last few prisoners getting sewed up. I'm sure by now you're seeing cute videos of red panda cubs getting surprised or something, which is a good thing because what I'm seeing is life-altering. Remember that whole thing about not permanently mutilating prisoners? Yeah, we'll get back to that in a minute. The governor arrives for the final debut of the world's first human prison centipede. His jaw drops, revelation of what's occurring before him hitting like a train, a meat train. Thoughts course through his brain. My God, what he pushed this mishired lunatic to do. His breathing shallow, his heart starting to race. He delivers his line.
What the hell is this?
Dwight hits him with the napkin math. More than $50 billion a year are spent on corrections, with more than 4 in 10 offenders returning to prison within 3 years of their release. And Elon Musk here solved it by committing an abundance of egregious human rights violations.
A deterrent to anyone considering a career in crime.
The governor, lightheaded, dazzled by Dwight's big numbers, the intense Nevada heat beaming down without respite, the sins committed by those underneath him that he's accountable for, assailing his soul. He delivers his next line.
This is too much.
An emotional response as palpable as the feces flowing through the abomination crawling before him. The secretary, for all her good work, is also sewn in, just going to show that associating with demented maniacs is like playing with a double-edged sword. I know she took this job to help get her dad or uncle out of prison or something, which I can totally understand. However, it doesn't mean you have to stay at this job. Double jeopardy will keep him out once initially released. Then you could have documented Bill's crimes, which would take all of 1 day wearing a secret cam and mic, then quit. Release the footage to the authorities, get a massive payout from the lawsuit, and sip on Mai Tais at the beach. Instead, she's eating literally. Dwight hits him with more math, saving billions on virtually everything a human needs to actually exist by simply not providing them anymore. Just think, all that money could be used on roads, schools, homeless, the sick, the needy. I mean, the vast majority won't be used for any of that, but it could. You wouldn't want to save the taxpayer that much anyway, or they'll start asking questions. With a marginal 10% tax savings improvement, citizens will be happy, and you'll be able to buy that beachfront property in Palm Beach, with a yacht to go along with it. It's a win-win. For the prisoners, not so much, especially the ones on death row. Since they won't be leaving the walls of this fine establishment ever, Bill decided they had no need of their limbs. The final leg of the tour ends with one of the prisoners getting released. How lucky. If only his sentence ended like a week ago. Rough. On the bright side, he left before he sustained too much psychological damage. In fact, he's downright respectful, gracious, and polite to them. This right here is the smartest man in the whole prison. He knew well that rules don't mean anything here, especially with the governor seemingly on board with it. And he knew if he mouthed off to Bill in front of said governor, he'd find a new lifetime home at the end of the armless human caterpillar. There will be plenty of time for some law-abiding citizen-style revenge later, once you're free. The governor promptly tells them they will all get the death penalty for this and leaves, forcing Bill to gun down the doctor. I think we can all agree that Bill really had no choice here. Oh, just kidding. The governor returns proudly stating that this is what America needs, and more importantly, what he needs in order to get elected president of the United States. The scary part is, he may actually have a shot. Dwight and Bill rejoice, hugging it out over a hard road traveled. Yeah, saw that coming. Dwight couldn't keep his fat mouth shut about it being his idea and wanting all the credit. Did you not see who you were dealing with? You didn't once think about the potential repercussions of siphoning off credit from a megalomaniac? Whatever. In conclusion, don't commit crimes. Don't threaten the guards or wardens if you do get sent to jail. And don't work for or associate with insane people. With that, I think this movie was beaten. Jesus Christ, shut the up. If I was the governor, I'd have Bill put on death row and instituted a more level-headed leader of the Human Prison Centipede Initiative. Call it Operation Warpipede. I don't know. Comment below what you'd call it. Okay, with that, I think this movie was beat. Thank God. It's over.